So yeah, it's a little bit chilly out here, so I got the scarf game going, so don't mind that. So just on the internet, right? Like I always am. You know, a lot of people use the internet for stupid shit. They're like, oh yes, let's look at this stupid dumb thing that my friend's doing. I'm out here like I'm researching every day. I'm like staying woke, paying attention to stuff going on in the world. You know, like some people say it's like the whole world of knowledge at your fingertips, and some people using it for fucking stupid shit. I'm out here, it's like my library, you know what I'm saying? I'm researching all day. But I just read some today that a friend of mine kind of put out there on Facebook, and it's talking about Watson from Watson and Crick, you know, the people who kind of figured out the how DNA is coiled and stuff. Apparently he said some shit that I guess, you know, might seem racist. I'm not just gonna, you know, pin that on him right this second, because I have a whole discussion to talk about. But you know, he said some shit talking about like African Americans have lower, not African Americans, I think he said like people in Africa or something, like had lower IQ scores or something. So like he was just like basically trying to say that, you know, the data shows that they're less intelligent, and the freaking like laboratory that he was like a, you know, honorary member of, or I think he was like a chancellor or something. You know, they basically like cut ties with him because they're like, yo, like we ain't trying to lose business or whatever. And you know, they put out an official statement. It said they don't like they don't stand for the misuse of science to kind of justify prejudices. I think that's reasonable. I like that. I like that a lot. That goes into a lot of things in the world. You know, sometimes these motherfuckers out here coming up with this scientific data to try to justify, I guess say prejudices, but also just like bullshit shit. You know what I mean? Like, hey, did you know that 9 out of 10 fucking blah 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 thinks blah blah blah? It's like, now I'm gonna get into that. This little situation has led to like a whole fucking like thing. Just like, I think it's a good talking point to start a lot of conversation about a lot of stuff. So we're gonna get into that. But I do think the statement that they put out, they don't stand for, you know, people misusing science to justify prejudices. And I'd say I take that to like, you know, trying to use science to kind of justify shit that really ain't even legit, you know what I'm saying? So we'll get into that. I think you might kind of get where I'm going with this. But and then on the contrary, I was thinking, okay, you know, that's a good statement from the laboratory. But on the other hand, maybe Watson really has some data, you know what I'm saying, like some IQ test scores, and he's saying, okay, well, you know, these people over here are getting lower test scores, so he might, you know, I think, you know, here's the thing. I'm just gonna jump into this. I'm all about common sense. Like we ain't bullshitting this shit. Obviously, Watson has like an agenda. You know, he's like, yeah, he's trying to like, look, these black people, they ain't smart. Like, it's obvious. Nobody's tripping around here. You know what I mean? He wants to make out white people to be the best or whatever. That's probably what his agenda is. We're not tripping. I'm all about common sense. I ain't even trying to beat around the bush, nothing like that. So just let y'all know right off the bat. But now I don't really want to say this because it is a sensitive subject. Maybe I shouldn't even use this as an example, but maybe there is data that does suggest something. You see what I'm saying? Okay. And it would be, you know, I guess prejudices influencing science. You see what I'm saying? As opposed to science trying to, you know, use to justify prejudices. It would be like the social sensitivity kind of trying to impose its will upon science. I mean, and I don't know the details of what the fuck, you know, I don't know if that dude's pulling that shit out of his ass, the fucking IQ test scores or whatever the fuck. I don't really know. I didn't look into it. But, you know, a thought came to my mind. You know, that maybe the social situation is kind of trying to impose its will upon science, and that's not good either. You see what I'm saying? So on one hand, you see the laboratory saying, yeah, we don't support people misusing science to try to justify bullshit. And on the other hand, you know, maybe Watson's thinking, well, we don't, you know, support, you know, your bullshit, trying to justify what you claim as science. You know, so let me just jump into this. Neil deGrasse Tyson has a good quote. I like this quote. He says, you know, science doesn't care about what you think. You know what I mean? Science does not care about what you think at all. Science is set up in a way, it was intentionally set up in a way. Scientific method was set up in a way to kind of save it from human error. You know what I mean? It's like, yo, we're setting up experiments with control fucking variables and all types of shit. There's a lot that goes into it. Okay. On that note, there's another quote from a person, I forgot who said this, but he said, you know, in the realm of sciences, you know, all sciences except for the physical sciences are nothing but child's play. Now what does that mean? Okay, so we can do an experiment with like chemistry, for instance. We can put hydrogen and oxygen together and make water. We can do it over and over and over and over. It's physical. There's no bias. There's no nothing in there. No human, you know, thing that can manipulate that really and change it. There's no room for error in that. It's so cut and dry and basic. There's no room for error, okay? And that would be a physical science, okay? On the other hand, there's a lot of experiments and a lot of things that people claim are science that I disagree are science at all, okay? For instance, the whole field of psychology, I see a lot of stuff in there. I'm like, dude, I could totally see how that whole experiment could just be jacked up by this person deciding to do something different. And they draw these conclusions on that, are like based off of that by the findings of these experiments that I think are already jacked up to begin with, and try to use it to like justify all types of crazy shit. Just like the laboratory was saying. It was saying, we don't like people misusing science, try to justify prejudices, but I'm saying like bullshit. I totally see that in psychology. I see all types of stuff like that. And maybe that's exactly what the thing was with Watson. You see what I'm saying? And it's like, okay, well, my question is, I mean, to me, I can see it easily. I can see how, you know, one little thing can change up the results. And it's not even like decent science because, you know, there's so much room for error. Like the dude said, it's like child's play. It's like, okay, that's cute. We can pretend it's science because it's kind of in the same format, but it's not science. It's not hard science. It's not like, hey, you know, here's fucking E equals MC. You know, I don't know what the fuck. You know, it's not like, you know, physical science. Like, you know, there's logical deduction. Like I said, I'm all about common sense. We totally have common sense. We don't need science to tell us obvious shit. You know what I'm saying? Nobody needs science to fuck. I mean, and that's the whole thing that I'm trying to get into too. You know, the scientific method was set up to kind of, you know, I'll try to put it in perspective. Back in the day when like Galileo came around, motherfucking, he was saying that the earth was not the center of the universe, and motherfuckers was like, oh, you fucking blasphemous piece of shit. And they're ready to burn that motherfucker at the stake. So yeah, like, you know, any other scientists around there, you know, they're like eyes wide open, like, fuck, like, this is not good. So they said, okay, let's try to like, you know, make this shit a more valid thing, and let's try to like get some reason up in here. And that's when I think they kind of trying to push the scientific method. Like, okay, let's just take all the fucking guesswork out of this. You know, let's before we burn the motherfucker at the stake, let's kind of try to prove what we're claiming. Is he really a witch? I'm not sure. Let's get a scientific method to kind of, you know, keep all that crazy type of I don't even know what you want to call it, mob mentality out of it, you know. That's another thing Neil deGrasse Tyson said. He said there's like 3 different types of truth. There's personal truth, scientific truth, and then like a political truth. And the political truth is kind of like this mob mentality, like trying to fucking just, you know, force something upon people. Like, oh, you're a witch. He's like, no, dude, I'm just looking through my telescope thing, you want to see, he's like, no, you're a witch. It's like, what? And next thing you know, they're trying to burn him at the stake type thing. And that's why I say I'm all about common sense, because, you know, that mob mentality type thing, it can be misused like hardcore. Like, people can vilify people that ain't did nothing. On the other hand, I'll go to a Malcolm X quote. Malcolm X said that the media is the most powerful entity on earth because it can make the innocent guilty and the guilty innocent. And that's that mob rule type shit. You know, it could just fucking claim some bullshit. Oh, this motherfucker did something, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, dude, Galileo out here just being reasonable, looking through his telescope that motherfucker never looked through, you know, and be like, oh, you're a witch, blasphemy, blah, blah. And it's like, damn, chill, you know. And on the other hand, there's a lot of people doing fuck shit, and they kind of get away with shit, you know. That's that mob mentality, man. They can kind of force some bullshit, really. And that's scary, because we still got that type shit. We still got that type shit in the world. Like, as much as we ain't got, you know, Salem witch trials and shit, you know, we still got some fucking mob mentality shit going on out here. Motherfuckers all like, just the other day, somebody, I see it on the internet all day, just a little clip or something, and then they're fucking, next thing you know, oh, you're losing your job over this shit. Like, okay. No trial, no nothing, just mob mentality, you know, jumping to conclusions type shit. Like I said, common sense, but that requires some context, you know what I'm saying? So that's something we need to work on. But anyway, back to the point. Scientific method, I think, came up to kind of, you know, while I guess scientists were trying to figure stuff out, you know, coming up with like reasonable conclusions about stuff, they didn't want to be, you know, called witches and stuff. So they were like, okay, let's just make this like a formal thing, like the scientific method. Like, let's all agree upon this, so we're not just gonna call each other witches, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, a lot of times people just come up with crap. They're like, oh yeah, he's a witch. It's like, okay, well, can you prove that? Let's think about this reasonably. We have people be coming up with crazy stuff, and probably a lot of other reasons. People probably had all type of stupid stuff they're trying to, you know, pose as, you know, reasonable, you know. Maybe there's like medicine and stuff that people say, hey, this will cure your illness, and you see stuff like that all the time, pseudoscience type stuff. So we got a scientific method, you know, that sets up experiments to try to, you know, get some real data going, right? And so there's a lot of reasons for it, but at the same time, what I see today is a lot of this like kind of trying to attempt to make science like the ultimate authority. And that just does not fucking work. And I'll tell you why. Because like I said, everybody has common sense. We can see common sense stuff. Like I said, Watson obviously has some type of agenda. Maybe he might have seen data talking about some low IQ scores, but why is he even worried about that? You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, he obviously for whatever reason he wants to like make white people out to be fucking superior, or black people out to be less superior, whatever it is. There's an obvious thing going on right there. It's like, you know, you could have gone your whole scientific life without saying nothing, but, you know, for whatever reason, you got that. And, you know, I'm not even going to judge. I don't even want to get into that one. That one's too deep, too sensitive. And I'm smart enough to not jump into too much sensitive stuff like that. But at the same time, this type of stuff needs to be discussed, and that's why I'm discussing it right now. Like I said, that mob rule is a thing, man. And if people are afraid to do science because they're afraid of being called witches, that's oppression. If people are afraid to talk about real stuff because they're afraid of blah, 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 it's oppression. It hinders progression. And I'm all about progression. So that's why I'm talking about this type of shit right now. A lot of people, they'll say, oh, I don't want to talk about that. I'm trying to keep my job, keep my fucking fancy career. Like, bro, we got to talk about this type of stuff. We need to, like, really, I don't know. But anyway, I'm just using this as a talking point. And I'm also trying to, you know, kind of like scientific method came in and what should we say, kind of put some reasonable nature up in the situation. You know, we can talk about stuff with a reasonable, you know, approach. You know what I mean? You don't gotta just be, oh, he's fucking racist because he's even talking about this thing. It's like, no, dude, like, what the hell? So yeah, I do see this thing where science is. A lot of people try to put science in the place of like ultimate authority. It's like, but it doesn't work. It's not even functional to be. It's like science is like a data collecting mechanism. It's like, okay, here's data. And like, you have to use that data to kind of come to conclusions. You got to be like, okay, well, here's the fossil record with all these fucking fossils. And you gotta be like Charles Darwin, oh, look, it's changing. And, maybe it's changing because of the fucking social or fucking natural pressures around it, and it's trying to survival of the fittest. That shit does not just come with the data. You know what I mean? That's a conclusion drawn from the data. It's not just fucking, oh, there we go, science knows everything. Science doesn't know everything. Science is just kind of setting up experiments, to kind of like deduce certain information, you know what I mean? And that's how the whole fucking thing with chemistry got, figured out. Motherfuckers were doing all types of experiments, and it's the whole history of it. Go learn it. It's so I guess what I'm trying to say, the nature of science does not even, it cannot reasonably occupy the role of like an ultimate authority. There's no I'm about to say psychological, but like I said, I don't even think half the freaking psychological sciences are legit. I think they're all BS. Not all of them, but I think there's reasonable stuff, and sometimes it's not even too scientific. It's kind of scientific because you're using a scientific method to kind of like set up experiments and like deduce information. But like I said, sometimes there's so many variables in it, just like room for error. You're like that people don't even account for with these things. It's like I don't even trust half the data they come up with. I think a lot of reasonable conclusions have been drawn, and I think they could have been drawn through just simple observation. And I think that happens a lot. I think I just don't get it. We do have common sense. We have observation. I don't need science to tell me this thing's a tree. You know what I'm saying? I don't need science to tell me, hey, look, there's a bird over there. I don't need science to tell me, hey, look, that guy, that animal over there does not look happy with me. I should get out of here. You know what I'm saying? I don't need science to tell me anything like that. No, science is like very limited to kind of like the physical sciences. Like, yeah, science has deduced how fucking chemistry works, like very specifically. It understands that shit now. It's like, I'm not going to just figure that out. Just, let me just figure it out. I see it, and that's how it works. Duh. No, that took some fucking serious scientific fucking deduction. You know what I mean? Other shit, it's kind of really fucking clear. You know what I mean? It's like, we do not need a fucking scientist to tell us the obvious. You know what I'm saying? And I see a lot of people try to use science as like this fucking like settler of all fucking debates. It's like, it does not even fit that role in any way, shape, or form. Like, at all. At fucking all. And like I said, the fucking dude who said, everything but the physical science is child's play, he's totally fucking right, because that shit isn't even, the results half the time ain't even legit. And they keep trying to put science in this fucking role of authority in the world. It's like, dude, it don't, and they're using it just the way the laboratory said. They said, we don't, stand for the fucking misuse of science to try to, justify prejudices or whatever. And it's like, you see that a lot. These people trying to put like fucking science in this authority position, and then fucking trying to like, hey, look, here, science says da-da-da, so here, do da-da-da. It's like, okay. And half the time science is wrong. Like, they know and flip their shit so many times, like with these child's play type sciences. They ain't flip no fucking how chemistry works. That shit ain't flipping. That shit stays the same. Nah, all this other shit they come up with, like, oh, you should eat fucking this type of food every day, and this and that, and this is good for you, and this and that. Here, let's do some electroshock therapy, lobotomy, all that shit. You know what I mean? That's all crazy shit based on fucking some bullshit ass science. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, they flip their script like every fucking weekend. You know what I'm saying? Real science, physical science, that shit ain't flipping nothing. The physical science ain't shit flipping. Ain't shit flipping. Chemistry stays the same. Fucking physics stays the same. Nothing's changing. Nothing's changing. That's how you know it's real science. When you got this fucking bullshit where they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna fucking inject you with some shit and it's gonna be good for you. Okay, well, a lot of people died, so we changed our mind. It's not a good idea. We now know, what the fuck, man? That's not science. And I'm telling you, people are trying to put science in this authoritative position where science is really so limited, it cannot even begin to fulfill that role. And like I said, like psychology, just a lot of dumb shit that there's just so much room for error. Like, for instance, there's a lot with nutrition, okay? And I'll just use it as a right off the bat example. They're like the food pyramid, blah, blah, blah. They say everybody needs this. Okay, well, first of all, everybody's fucking different. Every human being is different. Some people have like weird diets that they're so used to as like, they need different shit. You don't just say, here's a food pyramid. Here's what everybody needs daily. That's like totally impossible to do. There's no one way that everybody should eat. It doesn't work like that. You know what I'm saying? But on the other hand, like I said, with like chemistry, we all atom. I'm about to jump to a conclusion, but it's just a relative generalization. You know, like all atoms of hydrogen are pretty much the same. You know, they got little energy fucking differences maybe and shit, but generally they're the same. All atoms of oxygen are the same. And yeah, you can put those bitches together, they're always gonna do pretty much the same shit, you know what I mean? And that ain't gonna change, you know what I mean? There's no room for error with that. It's uniform, you know what I mean? When you're talking about humans and trying to like generalize some shit or anything like that, it's like, dude, it don't work. That's a total fucking stupid thing to even attempt. It's so dumb. So really, science is so fucking limited in the scope of what it covers. It's erroneous in itself to try to put it in a place of authority with like so many different subjects that people try to put it in. It's like, dude, no. It's like, you're not gonna tell me that, you know, what's best for me to eat today. I'm hungry, I want a freaking cheeseburger. It's like, you're not gonna tell me that, you know, it's just my science says that it's best for me to eat a leaf. No, I want a cheeseburger, bro. I can tell I need a cheeseburger. You ain't gonna tell me when your bullshit science out here. Yeah, you know, I'm gonna call it bullshit science because they try to apply it to some shit where it has no place. You know, it has no place being. You're not gonna come in. I mean, I'm just telling you, man. Y'all gotta see that shit. So really, what this is kind of about is like the laboratory said. You know, people misusing science to try to justify prejudices. And on the other hand, people might be kind of applying their social bullshit to science, okay? And you can see that. And that might be a lesser one. What I'm really trying to get to is, dude, you can't even use science as an authority in so many fucking ways. It's so limited to fucking like physical sciences. We have the fucking laws of physics. You know what I mean? That's pretty much it. We understand how biology works because we can like, you know, take the DNA and shoot it into another cell and like clone something and it'll look exactly the same. We can do that. Experiment. Boom. Same shit. And you can just generally see that. Yeah, we know how that shit works. I mean, if people want to disagree how that works, that's kind of what Neil deGrasse Tyson was saying. That's a political belief, you know, like people just, okay, they don't want to believe that that's how that shit works. That's on you. You know what I'm saying? Science does not care. Science does not fucking care. You know what I mean? And, you know, I guess at the end of the day, it's just reasonable people and there's unreasonable people. Like, some people can see that, yeah. Stick the DNA in the cell. It's cloned, looks exactly the same. DNA, you know, is kind of responsible for what's going on here. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can just... Anybody reasonable can see that, but some other motherfucker might be like, I'm making up something in my brain and trying to impose my will upon obviousness. You know what I mean? It's like, what the fuck? And I think that's why a lot of people try to kind of take science and kind of apply it as an authority. It's like, oh, you can't prove science wrong. It's like, well, motherfuckers could believe whatever the fuck they want. They could be stupid and not believe nothing, you know? I can say, hey, look, there's a tree. And I'm like, I disagree. It's like, oh, okay, buddy. Like, what the fuck you want me to do? You know, like I said, it's common sense. I'm all about common sense. We all got I'm about reasonability. I'm about, look, common sense. We know what the fuck we talking about. We know what's what. Ain't nobody... You know, only stupid people are stupid. You know what I mean? Only, you know, fake people are being fake. Only idiots are being idiots. You know, only people who are trying to, like, you know, make false accusations are trying to make false accusations. Everybody else, they're out here trying to be legit. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, I think there's just a real distinction of people. There's people who are just got common sense and who are reasonable, blah, blah. And there's people who are out here just playing games and being stupid. And that's why I'm all about common sense, because you can separate the two real quick with you know, about 5 seconds of observation. You know, you say something obvious, there's a tree, they're like, I don't agree with that. Okay, well, we know who you are. You know what I'm saying? There's no point. And the point of, like I'm saying, of this whole conversation really is to try to put science in its correct place. You know what I'm saying? It really does not apply in so many cases that people try to apply it. It's just so dumb. I see the same thing with like statistics and data. Like, for instance, I'll just use this because I was thinking about it the other day. Like basketball. Like, sometimes people have like 20 assists, 50 points, and 10 rebounds, and they're like, oh, he did great. But it's like, did they lose the game? Like what happened? You know what I'm saying? Like, statistics don't say the whole thing, and that's another part of science. You know, with data, blah blah blah. It's sometimes it's just not applicable. Like common sense has to play the real part. Like, what really happened in the game? We saw what happened in the game. Who really like saved the day? You know, it might not have been recorded in statistics. Statistics don't tell the whole story. The data don't tell the whole story. You know what I mean? Common sense transcends all of that. That's what I'm saying. There's just common sense and reasonability. We cannot pretend like science in any way, shape, or form can replace that. It's freaking impossible. Like I said, the whole theory of evolution didn't just get conjured up by science. No, it freaking there was a lot of data, fossil record, blah blah blah, and then Charles Darwin, he's looking at it and fucking thinking, using common sense to come up with that fucking theory of evolution. It did not just happen on its own. And I think people are just like totally misusing science, just like the laboratory said, and trying to like, oh yeah, see, science says da da da, and you can't argue with science, can you? It's like, dude, it's not even applicable. You know what I'm saying? Like, no. And people, I'm telling you, and I keep seeing it trying to be done, and they're misusing science, just like these people said. They keep pushing stupid stuff on people and saying, see, you gotta do this and do that, and if you don't do this, then you're an anti-scientophobe. It's like, what? No, bro. Like, I got common sense out here. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. There's no way ever that science can replace common sense. It will never happen. It can't happen. Like, science doesn't even work without common sense. You know what I'm saying? Like, you need to draw conclusions with your logic and common sense, reasonability, off of the data that science collects. Science just literally is collecting data. It's deducing fucking shit and making it obvious, like kind of isolating stuff and, putting it in a situation where it's like, okay, well, we have logically deduced that this does this when, it makes stuff obvious. You know what I'm saying? Like the fucking chemistry, the laws of physics, like that shit. It was not just obvious enough. No, there had to be experiments done to make it obvious. And then, you're like, oh, okay, I see what's happening here. Reasonably, you can see what's happening, Some people would just be like, no, I don't think that's what's happening. I think you're a witch. I think that's what's happening. I think we should burn you. I'm telling you, there's reasonable people and there's unreasonable people. I'm just letting y'all know. And science cannot ever fucking fulfill the role that so many people are trying to put in. Like, look, science says, you can't argue with science, can you? Huh? I think that's kind of what, dude, we got common sense, bro. We can all see what it is. Nobody needs to be tripping. That's basically what I'm saying. People out here trying to, there's reasonable people and unreasonable people. And people are trying to use science as the authority to, like, fucking shut all them unreasonable people up. It's like, dude, now you're just fucking up. No, we all got common sense. That's all we got to do is just get to the common sense of it all. Science is doing some, like, awesome shit, fucking figuring shit out. But like I said, it's really up to us to use it in the proper way. It's not like, don't abuse it. Don't fucking, then people ain't gonna believe science. When it's switching up, you try to claim this bullshit over here, science, and next week you're switching up. It's like, okay, well, science was wrong, sorry. And like another thing Neil deGrasse Tyson said, he always said some awesome stuff. He said, science is in the learning process right now. It doesn't know everything. It's still figuring stuff out. And so sometimes science, it's kind of, we have so much data and people have kind of come up with conclusions. They're like, okay, well, this looks like what could be going on. They'll come up and they'll bring that to people. Like, okay, well, this is what we're kind of leaning towards. You know what I mean? And then maybe it'll switch up later. Like, for instance, the Milky Way galaxy was said to have like so many stars, and then just recently, like I think like last year, they're like, okay, well, we just found out it's kind of like almost twice as big, has twice as many stars. And you got to understand that science is in a learning process. It's not just here like I said, like the theory of evolution. There's the fossil record, but then it takes like some logic to kind of figure out, to try to figure out how to use that info, and it's reasonable. It's reasonable. The theory of evolution is it's reasonable, supported by a lot of evidence, but there's no like, you can't do an experiment to like prove it to be right. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, it's just so reasonable that people, accept it as, that's what's going on. And it is, and that's good, because we can actually, everything points to it type shit. You know what I mean? And like I said, there's reasonable people and unreasonable people. Some people be like, nah, I disagree. And you can't just, there's just stupid people. There's just stupid people out here, just fucking unreasonable, that don't like common sense. And I don't know what to do about them. I don't think we should try to impose our will with science, because that's an abuse of power. That's it's just no, you just don't do that. You just don't do it for a lot of reasons. We can use our common sense to see that. And with that being said, man, I don't know, man. I think I understand more. This is more about science not abusing its power and trying to like justify prejudices, kind of like the thing said. But on the other hand, you could say, people trying to impose their will upon science, and I see that being a reason that, some of scientists say, oh no, look, science is the authority type thing. And but at the end of the day, like I said, we all got common sense, dude. Some people just want to play dumb, and that's on them. So it is what it is. Anyway, I think I've been chit-chatting about this for long enough. Hopefully this is a very, I don't know what it's. Some people are unreasonable, man. They're going to hear this and be like, nah, I disagree. And I'll be like, okay, well, what do you want me to do with that? I don't, you know what I'm saying? I'm at this point in my life, I've realized that there ain't nothing, I'm telling them that's a tree, they're like, nah, they make up something, okay, that's on you, buddy. I see what I'm working with here. I'm working with a bunch of, people who love to play games type thing, Like I said, the only people who are playing games are people playing games. The only people who are being stupid are people being stupid, There's real people out there, reasonable people, I don't really take dumb people seriously, really, I don't even entertain that, really. I ain't even trying to waste my time, but I'm not like gonna argue with them like they ain't reasonable. They're out here playing dumb. Half the time these people are freaking just trolling you, They're just out here trying to work you up, you know what I mean? You gotta see that. You gotta use your common sense, They're just playing with you. I think plenty of people see that, but either way, hopefully this is insightful, informative. Hopefully I made a decent argument. I don't know. I don't even know if it's an argument. Just like I said, we all got common sense. Hopefully it's appealing to your sense of reason, you know what I'm saying? And we can all move forward a little bit more reasonably, We ain't got to try to impose science as an authority. It doesn't work. It does not work. It does not fulfill the duty. Anyway, I think I'm a jet. I'm gonna get out of here. I've been standing in this one position because I didn't want to face that burning hot sun, but we'll walk up into this trail and go back. So thank you guys for listening. Be safe, be reasonable. Much love.